Folks, we have a great show for you today. So who is Giorgia Meloni? She's poised to be the next Prime Minister of Italy. The media calls her a fascist, the right wing thinks she's a hero, and many in the quote-unquote truther community are skeptical that she's just another puppet due to her apparent connections to the Aspen Institute. So according to her Wikipedia, since February 2021, she has been a member of the Aspen Institute, an international think tank headquartered in Washington, D.C., which includes many financiers, businessmen, and politicians. And if you look up the Aspen Institute, it says it's largely funded by foundations such as the Carnegie Corporation, the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, the Gates Foundation, the Lumina Foundation, and the Ford Foundation. Yikes. So we're going to explore the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because this heroic speech was trending, convincing Christians and conservatives that Italy got a real leader in office. Let's take a watch.
Potrei farne tante altre di queste domande. A monte c'è quella che ci facciamo oggi: perché la famiglia è un nemico? Perché la famiglia fa così paura? C'è una risposta unica per tutte queste domande. Perché ci definisce, perché è la nostra identità. Perché tutto quello che ci definisce in questo tempo è un nemico, per chi vorrebbe che non avessimo più un'identità e che fossimo solamente schiavi, consumatori perfetti. E allora è sotto attacco l'identità nazionale, è sotto attacco l'identità religiosa, è sotto attacco l'identità di genere, è sotto attacco l'identità familiare. Non devo potermi definire italiana, cristiana, donna, madre, no. Io devo essere cittadino X, genitore 1, genitore 2, devo essere un numero. Perché quando sarò solamente un numero, quando non avrò più un'identità, quando non avrò più radici, allora sarò lo schiavo perfetto in balia della grande speculazione finanziaria, il consumatore perfetto. E questa è la ragione per la quale oggi noi facciamo tanta paura. Questa è la ragione per la quale oggi questo appuntamento fa tanta paura. Perché noi non vogliamo essere dei numeri, noi siamo qui per dire che noi non siamo dei numeri, noi difenderemo il valore della persona umana, di ogni singola persona umana, perché ognuno di noi ha un codice genetico unico e irripetibile. E questo, piaccia o no, ha del sacro. Lo difenderemo Dio, la patria e la famiglia, che fanno tanto schifo a qualcuno. Lo faremo per difendere la nostra libertà, perché noi non saremo mai schiavi e semplici consumatori in balia della speculazione finanziaria. Ecco la nostra missione, ecco perché oggi sono venuta qui. Scriveva Chesterton ormai più di un secolo fa, vediamo se ve lo trovo: fuochi verranno attizzati per dimostrare che 2 più 2 fa 4. Spade verranno sguainate per dimostrare che le foglie sono verdi in estate. Quel tempo è arrivato, signori. Siamo pronti. Grazie.
But also these videos did surface where it appeared that she was supporting at one point the vaccine Green Pass.
Penso ad esempio al tema del certificato verde digitale. Siamo stati i primi a sostenerlo, ci auguriamo che venga adottato il prima possibile in un orizzonte di totale reciprocità con tutti gli altri Stati europei. È una priorità ed è fondamentale per ripristinare la libertà di circolazione e far ripartire soprattutto il turismo. Io voglio ovviamente salutare, e vado alla conclusione, i rappresentanti delle professioni sanitarie. Come sapete, Fratelli d'Italia è stata favorevole allo scudo penale per i sanitari, i medici e per tutti i vaccinati.
Many have said that she got her act together quickly and opposed it, but it is all pretty odd. We'll talk about it today. Real quick, I'll show you some pretty crazy hurricane footage out of Florida. Hope everybody stays safe. And we'll discuss whether Giorgia Meloni is Europe's newest populist hero, a quote-unquote fascist, or just another neocon. Have a beautiful day, and the live starts now.
Bye. All right, you know what? I think I'm just going to come in here for a second.
The Dream Rare Podcast, welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. It's the Dream Rare Podcast, welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles, yeah. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you for being here for another episode of the Dream Rare Podcast Live. And we're going to go through Giorgia Meloni. She is the newest leader of Italy. It looks like they took Italy by surprise, and the right-wing government is set to take over and have a majority. She's set to be the prime minister. And since she has been announced as the probably almost definitely next prime minister, everything got a little crazy. The media started calling her a fascist and saying she's a neo-fascist and fascism's back and it's the furthest right-wing government since World War II, which I do think is true. I do think it is the furthest right government they probably had in a while. But as far as is she a fascist or neo-fascist, that's what they're trying to say. Right-wing media has made her famous because she had that speech I just played with the subtitles where she's talking about being a Christian, a mother, and she's very traditional, it seems like, very nationalist, very, Christian, not like a BLM LGBT church where they have drag queen story hour, but like, I don't know, a Christian who doesn't do that. And then a lot of the truther community, right, has been calling her a puppet or a phony. So we'll just go through it all, the good, the bad, the ugly. Give me your perspective and I'll give you mine. So here's a tweet I saw between her and our favorite sugar daddy, or we're the sugar daddy of Zelensky. Yeah, he would be the sugar baby, I guess, because he just sucks up more American money than I've ever seen anybody do. So sugar baby Zelensky said, "Congratulations," I'm just translating it, to Giorgia Meloni and his party, or her party, on winning the election. "We appreciate Italy's continued support for Ukraine in the fight against Russian aggression. We are counting on a fruitful collaboration with the new Italian government." And Giorgia Meloni responded, "Dear Zelensky, you know that you can count on our loyal support for the cause of freedom of the Ukrainian people. Stay strong and keep your faith steadfast." Italian flag, Ukraine flag. So Giorgia Meloni said, "You know that you can count on our loyal support for the cause of freedom in Ukraine." If you're concerned with freedom in Ukraine, which I am, I don't want Russia to, take away liberty from the Ukrainian people. I'm not for that. But maybe Giorgia Meloni and America should look into the fact that, once again, Zelensky has banned 11 political parties. His main rival in politics, he completely wiped away the party. He put in, or the government of Ukraine has passed things that allow the seizure of property of anyone that's considered pro-Russia. Imagine if there was a debate between Mexico and the United States and you took a counter opinion to your government, and instead of being like, "Oh, you're a patriot who just disagrees with us and there's a different foreign policy," they said, "Oh, you're pro-Mexico or you're pro-Canada or you're pro-NATO or whatever, and now you're anti-American, we could seize your property." That's what they're doing in Ukraine. They're saying any of the political opposition to Zelensky, including millions of people who are literally right next to Russia and from Russia, now they're allowed to seize their assets, banning 11 political parties, consolidating the media into the hands of the state like a communist dictatorship. And how are you going to possibly have a fair election when 11 political parties, including the main rival political party, is banned from the next election? Ukraine's not free under Zelensky, but I guess if all the Western world, including Giorgia Meloni, just pretends like they're fighting for freedom, maybe if you lie to enough people, they'll believe it. I don't know how that even makes any sense, but I guess if we just, put our heads up our rear ends, it does. So she seems very tight with Zelensky. Fascinating stuff. This is a find that a lot of, I say quote unquote truthers, because some people are cringy, but for the most part, people are out there trying to seek truth and they're not picking sides. The truther movement seemed to dig this up. It was on her Wikipedia. It says, since February 2021, she has been a member of the Aspen Institute. And if you look up the Aspen Institute, that's who she apparently has been a member for a year. They have this interesting tagline. I'm going to read it because I didn't print it out, unfortunately. It says the Aspen Institute is an international nonprofit organization founded in 1949 as the Aspen Institute for Humanistic Studies. The Institute's stated aim is the realization of a free, just, and equitable society through seminars, policy programs, conferences, and leadership development initiatives. A free, just, and equitable society. That word equitable, I'm not saying it's a bad word like dictionary-wise, but you don't hear a lot of conservatives or nationalists using the word equity or equitable. It's usually socialists and left-wingers that use that word. I'm just saying, for a far right fascist, it seems weird that she's using that word, or she's part of an organization that uses that word. And like I did in the beginning, but I'm just going to reread it. The Aspen Institute, which she's been a part of since February 2021, is funded by Carnegie Corporation, the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, the Gates Foundation, the Lumina Foundation, and the Ford Foundation. So an institute funded by the Gates Foundation is where she's a part of, and mysteriously she was pro-green vaccine passport for a little while until she turned around, and I guess she fought vaccine mandates, but after the point. That's the ugly. The good is obviously her rhetoric and what she seems to stand for. You know, she sounds just like us, right? You know, just like all these Republicans. They just make these speeches and they're just like us. A Christian mom. I guess I'm not a Christian mom, but you get what I'm saying. It's like they're hitting on our heartstrings. Like, oh yeah, we finally got one of our guys in office, but we will see. You know, here's my take before I play another clip. On one hand, I'm not naive. I understand that you do have to play the game in some form, right? In order to, you know, play with the big boys, sometimes it's good to have one of the big boys on your side. And, you know, I try to have sympathy and empathy to that, where I'm not trying to be an idealist where it's like everyone has to do everything I want in order to be perfect. You know, I'm not that type of person. It's like I get maybe you have to align yourself with some of the big boys in order to internally kind of revolt against their ideas. However, you know, me not being idealistic and what these leaders do to us is not the same. Like, I'm like, excuse me, I don't mean to say like a Valley girl, but, you know, if Trump gets in and he does a few goofy things, I would be like, whatever, you know, he's not perfect. He's got to align himself with some snakes in order to get his stuff done. But then when lockdowns happen, Operation Warp Speed, and all this big pharma corruption and government shutdowns, now I'm like, well, this is not good. You know, this is bad. And same with Giorgia Meloni. Like, if she just does a few lame things, it is what it is. I'm not going to hold it against her. But when she's supporting the Green Pass vaccine passport, that's not a small thing. I mean, that's, in my opinion, digital enslavement, big pharma enslavement. And the fact that she even thought that that was a good idea for one day proves to me that, in my opinion, she's just another puppet. You know, she's probably better than most. And, you know, I'm sure she'll do the right thing for a while. But when push comes to shove, my guess is she'll do what Trump did, or she'll do what Ted Cruz does, or Dan Crenshaw does, or Mike Pompeo, or whoever, you know, and just take a turn all of a sudden when everything seems to be going good. And, you know, in the most crucial moment of our history, all of a sudden they're mysteriously on the wrong side and they can't figure it out. I don't know. That's my guess, but I pray for Italy. It's definitely, I guess, better than a left-wing government, but, you know, I can't say just based on who's excited for her victory. Obviously the media is upset, but it seems to me like another false paradigm, you know, another one of these ladies that they could fight with, but will never really go the full distance. I hope I'm wrong. I hope she really makes a change in Italy. Her rhetoric's good. Culturally, it'll have a good impact, but I'm not really expecting much. I want to play you this clip real quick, and then I want to show you just some stuff from Ted Cruz. So this has been going viral. This is Joe Biden. The first clip is Joe Biden, right? He's talking about how during a hurricane it's important to get vaccinated. This is not a new clip, but it doesn't matter. Even the fact that it's old doesn't make it like cool. Like, I'm sure the fact checkers will come out and be like, fact check, this isn't a new clip of Joe Biden. Yeah, but he did say it and it's still stupid. Even if he said it last year or earlier this year, it's really pathetic. So here's Joe Biden saying it's best to get vaccinated during a hurricane. It's an older clip. And then I want to show you some stuff with Ted Cruz, because Ted Cruz responded to this and was like, oh my God, this is such a joke. It's so awful. And I just want to demonstrate the false paradigm between slow Joe Biden, the most pathetic president in history, and I almost called him shovel-faced Ted Cruz, but that would be rude. Let's just call him, you know, the fraudulent weasel Ted Cruz. And I'm going to tell you why I'm being so rude to him. I'm not a rude person. I'm very respectful, but I don't have respect for people who don't have respect for me as a human being and try to take away my freedom and treat me like a slave. And that's Ted Cruz and Joe Biden, and I'll show you in a second. But here's the clip of slow stuff Biden.
Let me be clear. If you're in a state where hurricanes often strike, like Florida or the Gulf Coast or into Texas, a vital part of preparing for hurricane season is to get vaccinated now.
So that was a clip of Joe Biden telling people in the past to get vaccinated. But anyway, Ted Cruz was responding to that video. I just want to show you what he wrote. He posted this last year. It said, "It's time to end mask mandates for fully vaccinated Americans on airplanes." So, he actually passed a resolution a year and a half after the lockdown. It says Senator Ted Cruz and colleagues, including Marsha Blackburn, introduced resolution calling on Biden to end the CDC mask mandate for vaccinated Americans on airplanes and public transportation. So I just want to explain to you real quick why I'm calling Ted Cruz shovel face, because I don't respect him as a person, and if I ever saw him at a conservative event, I would look down at him and call him a weasel to his face. And this is the reason, okay? The lockdown happened in March 2020, okay? March 2020. If you were confused for a month or 2 months, I'll even give you maybe a month and a half to 2 months. If you were confused, you didn't know how bad the virus was, I don't care. I'm not going to hold it against you. But you have to understand, Ted Cruz tweeted this almost 15 months after the lockdown. Okay, so this is 2021. They're rolling out the vaccines. Democrats are mandating the vaccines on us, right? They're closing down society. And this is what Ted Cruz does. He says, "Here, I have something to compromise with the left. We will take the masks off of vaccinated people on airplanes." What does that mean? It means that Ted Cruz thinks that I deserve less freedom in America than somebody who's, no offense, weaker than me. Somebody who bowed down to the pressure of the campaign. That's not okay. The fact that Ted Cruz even gets applauded at these conservative events is why we accomplish nothing. I have a zero tolerance policy. I'm not a mean person. I'm very thoughtful. I try to be very open-minded, but I have very few rules that I just don't budge on. One of them is my health, my safety, my life, my liberty, these basic stuffs. Hey, leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. You're not bothering me, I'm not going to bother you. But when our side of the political party, the Republican Party, 15 months after the lockdown says, we're going to pass a resolution that gives you, Anomaly, and millions of my voters less freedom than a vaccinated person, Ted Cruz, you are a shovel-face weasel. You hear me, Ted Cruz? Shovel-face, you're a weasel. You know why I'm calling you a weasel and saying rude things to you? Because you're a joke, okay? Any man that tries to pass a resolution that says that I get less freedom than somebody who got in line for Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson deserves to be booed out of the party and, to be honest, booed out of the country, okay? Because I refuse to be treated like a slave. I refuse to be treated like a prisoner. I refuse to be treated like a third-tier citizen by Joe Biden, by Democrats, and especially my own party who pretends to be fighting for me. And the fact that that even crossed his mind to say, hey, I have a good idea. Let's pass a resolution that gives millions of my voters who didn't get the mRNA vaccines, who are taking a stand against medical tyranny, who are taking a stand against the big pharma campaign. I'm going to give them less freedom on public transportation. I'm going to humiliate them. I'm going to put out a biased or a lopsided set of rules which rewards and justifies vaccinated people and gives them extra goodies. You are a shovel-face weasel, Ted Cruz, okay? And I promise you, if I ever see you in person, I'm going to say it to your face, okay? Because I don't care what you do. I'll defend you against the left. But if you ever try to pass another resolution that gives me less freedom than somebody who gets an mRNA injection, what are you doing? You're making it. You're giving justification for people to go out and listen to the left and listen to the mandates. If that's the best you can do, I don't believe in mask mandates for anybody, but masks on everybody or masks off everybody. I'm not for it. I wouldn't wish it for the world, but I would never demonize and dehumanize people who didn't get mRNA injections like Ted Cruz. So when it comes to Giorgia Meloni, I'm sorry, but I personally have a zero tolerance policy with anybody who ever thought it was a good idea to do a green pass. Really? I need a vaccine to go in and out of my country now? We need this new digital health passport to move around when we didn't have to a year ago? You're going to usher in the new normal? This is who Giorgia Meloni is. This is who Ted Cruz is. And to be honest, this is who Donald Trump is. They do steps 1 through 10 of the Great Reset. Lockdown, Operation Warp Speed. Ted Cruz jumps in. He starts demonizing and trying to dehumanize unvaccinated people. And then they throw up their hands and say, oh, we're Christians. Oh, we love you. Oh, we fought so hard. Oh, vote for us and we'll beat the left. BS. You're all working for the left. You're all like a joke, So I just have I apologize for getting upset, but I have a zero tolerance policy with anybody that tries to treat me like a slave or an animal or a second-tier citizen because I rejected the mRNA vaccine. Especially, it's bad when Democrats do it, but it's in a weird way almost worse when Republicans do it, because if the Democrats do it and the Republicans are just head faking us and pretending to fight it while they're actually rolling it out too, we don't have a chance. You know what I'm saying? If our leaders working for an institute who is funded by the Gates Foundation and they temporarily, by a mistake, support a green passport, we have no horse in the race. That's a bigger story than the fact that the left sucks. So, I take no pleasure in bashing Ted Cruz like this, but it's like, as a man, I will make sure when I see him peacefully, legally, and respectfully call him a weasel to his face, because if it ever crossed his mind in 2021 that I deserve less freedom on a plane than him, he's a weasel. If it ever, which it did, if it ever crossed his mind that I deserve less opportunity and less liberty and different rules because I didn't get an mRNA injected in my arm, meanwhile I could literally run circles around Shovelface Weasel Man who looks like, he looks like a slab of beef brisket. Oh, but that's the politician I'm supposed to clap for at Turning Point events. Oh yeah, don't invite Anomaly to Turning Point events. He's going to ruin our little controlled opposition party. We're all going to clap for Ted Cruz. Why are you clapping for Ted Cruz? Why is anybody clapping for this guy? He literally tried to lay out rules that supported vaccination segregation and dehumanizing unvaccinated people 15 months after the lockdown. And you're clapping for him? Republicans love losing. Hey, let's lose, but let's pay a couple $100s to lose and listen to Ted Cruz speak. Yeah, a party full of losers. And I'm not calling people losers because I don't like them. I'm just saying that's all we do is lose. We lose, we win, we lose when we win, we lose when we lose. Democrats get what they want when Trump's in office. Democrats get what they want when Biden's in office. Isn't that weird? It's because our party's not really working for us. So, I would assume that Giorgia Meloni is just like the rest of the little puppets. She'll be a good girl. She'll get along with Zelensky. She'll appease the Zionists who really run right wing in Europe and America. It's not America first or Italy first. It's usually Zionism first or Zelensky first. And, she'll do just enough to make you think she's going to do something, and probably not enough to ever actually accomplish anything, because that's usually what right-wingers in Europe do, who pledge allegiance to Zionism before they do Christ or their country or whatever they're pretending to do. It's just not what they're doing. But, when people figure that out, things will change. Until then, it's going to be a lot of cheering for people like Ted Cruz at a TPUSA thing. And I want to make myself clear before I move on, and then I want to get some of your comments. This is where I draw the line, folks. I don't draw many lines in life. I'm a very free-flowing person, but when you lock me in my house and tell me I can't go to a gym, my line has been drawn, okay? When you tell me that I'm not allowed to go to a physical business, but you're allowed to be at the French Laundry, that's crossed my line. When, multiple corporations get shut down for a year, but Walmart gets to stay open and Target gets to stay open and Amazon gets to swallow up mom and pop shops, my line has been drawn, okay? When you're running around the country telling people tens of billions of dollars funneled to Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, AstraZeneca, or whoever you gave the money to, that's this amazing human achievement and it's the greatest thing you've ever done, yeah, my line is drawn, okay? When you're Ted Cruz and you sit there and you try to pass a resolution in August of 2021 and June and July of 2021 saying that because I'm stronger than you, Ted Cruz, you're a little weasel. You could never be me, Ted Cruz. I'm way stronger than you. So I said no to Big Pharma. You little weakling, you little weasel. Oh, put your Texas mask on. Oh, I have a Texas mask on. Look how Texas I am. I have a Texas mask on. Yeah, you look like a little animal. You look like a little muzzled animal. Here you go, Ted Cruz. Go print trillions of dollars. Give money to Zelensky and sign, mask resolutions. Oh, you're a good boy, Stick your tongue out, boy. Eat the dog food. But in general, it's like, because I'm stronger than you, Ted Cruz, and I said no to the synthetic mRNA injection, and I decided to take sovereignty over my own body and not get bullied, you, 15 months after the lockdown, passing a resolution that says that now I get treated differently on public transportation in the United States of America, I get less freedoms than you because you're a good little doggo, you're a good little boy, little weasel. That crosses my line, okay? And if every conservative and Republican had even 1/10 of my spine, 1/10 of my passion, 1/10 of my strength, this country would be a different country. But it's all a joke, folks. Who gets booked? Which influencer can we pay $10,000? Here, come speak and make the sheep throw up their hands for the vaccine salesman. Make the sheep put their hands together for the weasel who tried to give less freedom to force masking. Come to CPAC in Florida where they make you wear a mask or kick you out if you don't wear one in 2021. Oh yeah, that's the party. Yeah, let's not invite Anomaly. Yeah, you're smart for not inviting me because I'm the truth. You know? I'll expose your whole fraudulent little fake controlled opposition party. Yeah, you're smart for red flagging my tweets. I'm the real McCoy, okay? I'm not another joker. It's not high school for me. I don't put on my boat shoes and try to get laid at an event, okay? I've been cool since I was 19. I don't need any more women. I got 99 problems. Options are not one. I'm not here for the donor money. I'm not here for the Aspen Institute money. I'm not here for the Sheldon Adelson money, okay? Rest in peace. He's not alive now, but I'm sure his wife is still crushing it on the scene. But I just have, as a human being, as a man, as an American, that's my line. I don't think I'm asking for that much. I'm asking to not be treated like a second-tier citizen in my own country. Someone said I need humility. Has nothing to do with humility right now. I'm a man. If you look at me like a Ted Cruz or anyone as a man and say, you don't deserve to breathe freely on an airplane, you need a mask on your face, but I don't need a mask because I got an mRNA injection, you have crossed my line. It has nothing to do with being cocky. It has nothing to do with being full of myself. I'm not a PUSSY like 99% of these other conservatives. And you'd be surprised how soft and pathetic so many Republicans are. I have guns. I served in the war. That's awesome. God bless you. Second Amendment is great. I respect our military. But what's the point of supporting the Second Amendment and serving in the military if when your liberty gets taken away, you act like a softie and say, oh, that's fine. Oh, this is awesome. I'm going to make excuses for Ted Cruz. Doesn't matter how big your muscles are if you're that pathetic. I love the military. I support the military. It's very brave. It's very bold. I've never done it. And it would be a rude awakening for someone like me. It's a very difficult job. I support the Second Amendment more than most Republicans do. But the amount of people that say they're those things and then cry on my pages and they're like, you don't understand. No, you don't understand. As a man, I'm not going to allow another man to tell me that I can't go somewhere without a cloth on my face, but they get to go somewhere without a cloth on my face because they injected themselves with a Pfizer shot. I have a zero tolerance policy. And you could say I need humility, and you could say I'm too cocky or egotistical or something, but if the Republican Party and the Republican base had 50% of my spine and my passion, this wouldn't be happening. But instead, everybody loves it. They love the fake show. They love getting abused. They love the Hegelian dialectic. They love the fact that the left wing slaps them with the left hand and the right wing slaps them with the right hand. Then they look at the left and say the left did it. I'm like, the right did it too, but then you make excuses for it. I don't care. I'm past the point. Unfortunately, the old me is gone. Unfortunately. I'm not saying it's not going to be resurrected, but the pre-pandemic version of me doesn't exist anymore, okay? That person's gone. You've taken advantage of that person, and it's never coming back, okay? Because I'm all I mean, still, it's all love, but it's like, you lock me in my house for 3 months? You run around the country selling vaccines? You tell me I have to put a cloth mask on my face when I'm claustrophobic for 2 years, and then you censor my stuff on social media when I'm complaining about it? Yeah, sorry, the old me's gone. Sorry, buddy. You know, I can't. I have very few rules in this world, and all of them have been. Every line that I've ever drawn has been crossed in the last 2 years, mostly by Democrats, but some by Republicans. And it's a line that I just have a strong line. I can't allow my party to do that. And the fact that they got away with it and no one even knows they did it and no one cares, just tells you why it's going to keep happening. You know, why would they stop? Ted Cruz is getting applauded. He has no... Someone said you have a right. Of course I have a right to speak my mind about my own party trying to give me less freedom for not getting injected with mRNA. And I have no respect for anybody who ever thought that, even for a month or a week or 2 months. I'm sorry. I'm not a slave. I'm not a prisoner. I'm not a serf. I'm not a second-tier citizen. And I will let you know if you ever thought I was. I'm going to let you know that I never was, okay? Even though you're over it now and you don't think that way anymore, I'm going to let you know that was never right to begin with, and you're never going to do it again, and you should absolutely apologize, okay? Someone said all actors, Hollywood's not the only place. Yeah, a wise person once told me that politics is ugly Hollywood. It's all the ugly actors who couldn't make it in Hollywood because they're too ugly, so they go to Washington, and now they're ugly actors, right? All the good-looking actors go to Hollywood. You got a chiseled jawbone, you go to Hollywood. You're funny, you go to Hollywood. You know, you have a special, unique look to you. You go to Hollywood and make millions of dollars. You're ugly. You're too ugly of a celebrity, and nobody likes you. You go to Washington. That's all the ugly actors go to Washington, and instead of getting money from creepy music executives and producers, they get their money from donors and, you know, supporters and institutes. You know, it's ugly Hollywood. Washington's ugly Hollywood. That's what someone told me one time, and I can't unsee it. Someone said there are no good guys in Washington. There's a few, but it's just like, I guess to be honest, you get what you buy. If you buy garbage, the store keeps selling you garbage. The second you demand healthier food, the store starts getting healthier food. So the Democrats have no reason why would the Democrats get better? People still vote for them. Democrats locked people in their houses for longer than anybody. They force masked more. They force vaccinate. I mean, the Democrats did eviler things than some of the most evil people in modern history. I'm not going to say all of them, but many of them. And people still vote for them because they're not the right. So why would the Democrats get better when they could still win elections being this corrupt? They have no incentive. And then on the Republican Party, why would Ted Cruz get better? People don't understand. He gets treated like a rock star. Everywhere he goes in the right wing, he's getting cheered and praised. I watched that Turning Point. You would think Harry Styles was playing. People were like damn near in tears. There's like thousands of students like, oh my God, Ted Cruz, oh my God. Like, why would Ted Cruz get better? He's like, you know, why would he get better? So we get what we deserve. We're buying it, so they sell it. You buy what Ted Cruz sells, he'll keep selling it. You buy what Donald Trump sells, he'll keep selling it. Democrats, their audience buys what they're selling. Nancy Pelosi is a witch, a warlock, and she keeps getting into office because for God knows what reason they keep voting for in San Francisco or wherever she's from. So it's, you know, we can't play the victim and say, oh, Washington's so corrupt. People are dumb, and when people are dumb, they get dumb leaders. You know, if you're dumb enough to think that it's fine the way the Republican Party is because they're not Joe Biden, you get the crappy Republican Party. If you think the Democrats are fine because they're not Republicans, then you get the Democratic Party. You get high crime, you get high taxes, you get inflation even higher than when a Republican says, oh, but I don't. It's like, yeah, that's what you get. Why wouldn't they do that? I mean, I would be more shocked if Democrats didn't scam their base. Like, Democrats like, oh, they didn't do what I wanted them to do when they got in office. Duh. It's not the Democrats' fault for not doing what they said they were going to do in office. It's your fault for voting for the Democrats and thinking that they were going to do that. It's not their fault. It's your fault. Anybody that still thinks the Democratic Party is anything less than the most evil collection of politicians I've ever seen in my life, the joke's on you. It's not their fault. It's your fault. And, you know, Republicans are better than Democrats, but any Republican at this point who expects any of these people, whether it's Donald Trump back in office, Ted Cruz, if you expect anything out of anybody except for Thomas Massie, the joke is on you. It's not even Ted Cruz's fault. It's our fault. You get what I'm saying? I'm just, as a man, if I ever see him, I'm going to call him a weasel to his face, because I don't care if you, I mean, it's not good to give that much money overseas, but giving the money to Zelensky doing this, I'm not saying it's okay and I'm not saying it's justified, but when you pass a resolution that says that I literally get less freedom and liberty and I have to put a cloth over my face like I'm a captured war prisoner, and you get to take it off your face because you're a little good doggy for the establishment and you injected yourself with a Pfizer or Moderna shot or a Johnson & Johnson shot when they Operation Warp Speed it to you, if you think that, I need to call you a weasel as a man, like, you know, I want you to learn to never do that again, weasel. You know, I can see it right now, him in front of me. And be like, Ted Cruz, why in the world, 15 months after the lockdown, did you pass a resolution to allow this? Why? The TPSA is okay. Oh my God, get him to the stage so he can trick a bunch of teenagers. Like, whatever. It's not even an option in my head. I have to do it, you know? These Republicans need to know what they don't care. So the point I'm getting to is, it's not their fault. It's not Ted Cruz's fault or Donald Trump's fault. It's the base's fault. You eat it, they feed it to you. It's that simple. Someone said Zelensky's parents just bought an $8 million house in Israel. I don't know if that's true, but I wouldn't be surprised, because, you know, the second you start going to the early life section on Wikipedia, you're going to notice a certain pattern. And once you notice the certain pattern, you know, it's going to be a hate speech violation, because it's impossible to think that he might be working for the... Never mind. No, it can't be that. I mean, it's just, you know, it couldn't be that, you know. Don't look there. Don't notice those patterns, you know. It's like crime statistics. It's like, don't notice actual math statistics. Statistics are racist. It's you that's crazy. It's stop Asian hate. You know, it's white Trump supporters going after Asians, and yeah, that's really what's going on in San Francisco. It's MAGA country, just like Chicago, right? Ask Jesse. It's like the more you notice actual mathematical statistic equations, the more hate speech violations come along. So I know who's doing it. It's Iran. I don't know. Who are they blaming now? Iran, Russia. Someone said, who blew up the pipeline? The Ghost of Kiev. The Ghost of Kiev did it. You know, the fictional character that they made up to propagandize. I mean, inspire you. My bad. It was the Snake Island hero story. It was the guy who put the noose in Bubba Wallace's garage. It was the two Nigerians who ran up on Justin's spot. That's who did it. They were, for some reason, they were scuba diving out there and just, you know what I'm saying? It was an unvaccinated person for sure. You know, they were swimming out there, and because they were unvaccinated, the pipe just leaked. It was probably Trump supporter. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. This is MAGA pipelines? Yeah, I don't know. Sam Hyde. It could have been anybody. You just never know. You just never know who did the pipeline. It could have been, someone said Sleepy Joe. He would never do that. Come on, Joe Biden. Joe Biden would never do that to the pipeline. He's the new hero of humanity. You know, all he does is just help. He's like a helper bee. Just kidding. I don't actually think that. All right. Let's see some of your comments. Someone said anomaly not pulling any punches. I don't even know what you're referring to. The pipeline was unvaccinated? Probably. I think you're right, Evgeny. It probably was unvaccinated. They should have jammed a Pfizer vaccine in the pipeline. I'm sure it would have been better. All right. Sam Harris. I don't know. Hunter's crack pipe. All right. Any comments? So to wrap up this story, and then I'm going to get some of your comments. You could comment on anything I said. Giorgia Meloni, the good is, well, I guess if you're left wing, you're just crying. But if you're right wing and Christian or conservative or anything of the sort, you know, she seems to be very against the social agenda of the left and cultural Marxism. She seems to be fighting that pretty aggressively. You know, she seems like she's better than left-wing politicians in Europe, for sure. Those are the pros, you know. On paper, she looks like someone who would be a great leader. But the fact that she joined the Aspen Institute, who's funded by the Gates Foundation and the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, that's a red flag. The fact that her and Zelensky are having like a public little slobber over each other party on Twitter, in my world, that's a red flag, but in other people's world, that's awesome. And the fact that she even supported a green passport or a green vax thing for even a day, it's a red flag. I mean, how could you not? I don't know. You get it. I mean, and it all starts making sense when you're like, you know, it sucks when it's people you like that are being somewhat corrupt because you don't want to believe it. You're like, my person would never do that. But it's like, if you supported a green pass for even a couple weeks and you work for an institute that's funded by the Gates Foundation, that doesn't look good. You know, I'm not saying they paid you to do that, but it's worth speculating. And same with Donald Trump. It's like you turn into a vaccine salesman. You came into office a skeptic of vaccine, and you talked about vaccine injuries. You leave office as the most prolific vaccine salesman in modern history, saying it's the greatest thing ever. You pass an executive order in 2019 that's suspiciously identical to what Bill Gates was talking about in 2018 with the universal flu vaccine. You fund tens of billions of dollars to the COVID Operation Warp Speed vaccine. So it's like, you don't want to believe your guy's doing that, but when he puts a pharmacy lobbyist at the head of HHS and takes money from Pfizer, you know, it sucks to think that our side might be doing that, but at what point do you realize our side is obviously doing that? And, you know, it's just like obvious. So hopefully she does a great job in Italy, but I don't know. I see her as someone culturally and economically that might do stuff for Italy, but on a global scale, it looks like she's a perfect puppet. She's working for all the people that, you know, she'll do probably pretty much everything with foreign policy that they want, but maybe not. Who knows? Maybe not. Let's see. Barbara said, "You're absolutely right. It all seems like they're playing good cop, bad cop, and you can't trust anybody. Glad you don't take anyone on just their latest statements." There's an old saying, Barbara, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right? I love that. I love that phrase. It's like probably hundreds of years old, but it's like, if you fool me once, shame on you. You fool me twice, shame on me. That's my fault. So, you know, I've already been fooled multiple times, and, you know, after a couple times, it's on us now. You know, it's not... And it's not a mean thing. I'm being mean to Ted Cruz purposely because I just have no respect as a human. Like, for somebody that literally tries to dehumanize me, it's not happening. You know what I'm saying? You need to learn your lesson, because I don't take very kindly to that. Millions of people who rejected the synthetic mRNA, and you're going to say we deserve less liberty in the Liberty Republican Party? Get out of town and take a bus. But with all this other stuff, you know, people can be nice about it, but just ask more questions and, you know, understand that it's a perfect paradigm. Like, the left doesn't care how bad the left is because the right's worse in their world, right? If you're a Democrat, who cares how bad the Democratic Party is? I mean, Donald Trump and Lara Trump is posting Instagram videos, you know? And if you're a right-winger, well, who cares how bad the Democratic Party... I mean, who cares how bad the Republican Party is? That's the best we've got because it's better than Joe Biden. Do people not get the game they're playing? It's been, 40 years, and it's only going backwards. Donald Trump was there for 4 years, and he went backwards. Oh, but it was the left, and he'll do it this time. Guys, people have been saying this for 30 years. Learn the freaking lesson. If you didn't learn it after Operation Warp Speed and the 2020 bipartisan lockdowns, and you still think just 4 more years, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on us. You know, so it's not to say hate him or Biden's better. That's not what I'm saying. It's just like, wake up, folks. They're gonna fool you again. They're gonna trick you again. Why wouldn't they? The game is so obvious at this point. Okay, it's okay if we got fooled 50 times, but Let's not get fooled a 51st time. It's too obvious now. Someone said, you don't think he made a mistake? Donald Trump or Ted Cruz? Which one? Do I think they made mistakes in their life? Of course, and that's fine. But do I think Donald Trump made a mistake by taking $1 million from Pfizer, made a mistake by hiring a pharmacy lobbyist to run the health department, made a mistake by signing Bill Gates' universal flu vaccine plan into executive order in 2020, made a mistake by locking down in 2020, made a mistake by extending the lockdown orders, made a mistake by telling Georgia and Sweden that they should stay locked down, made a mistake by funding pharma, made a mistake by running around the country, selling it as the greatest human achievement, still making the same mistake, still hasn't learned. Do I think he's making a mistake? No, I think he's either an evil man who conned his base into thinking he was different, or he's the dumbest, most foolish, good person on the planet. So I don't know. Do I think he made 50 mistakes in the direction of Big Pharma after he took Big Pharma money? No. Do I think Ted Cruz made a mistake? No, Ted Cruz is a fraud. He'll do just enough to make people like him. I'll compliment him all. Ted Cruz is crushing it. I've complimented Ted Cruz 100 times. And I don't want you to think that I would treat somebody this way over a policy disagreement. You want to tax this much. You want to do this. Although taxation is theft, and I do think theft is a really big issue. But you get what I'm saying? I wouldn't treat a politician like I'm treating Ted Cruz right now over nothing. You have to understand, when you want to treat me like a slave and a prisoner and a subhuman scum and treat me like I'm sick and treat me like I'm an animal and give me less liberty than the next person who got the injection, and you're a Republican, sorry, bro, I'm going to treat you like this. And if everybody treated him like this, he would stop tomorrow. But it's so obvious. I mean, I don't want to repeat myself. I've said it all the time. You get what you allow. If you allow it, they keep doing it. Are they making mistakes? If you think they're making mistakes, they're gonna be making mistakes for the next 100 years until we're in a camp somewhere, you know. And I'm not talking about Camp Anawana. And I'm not trying to scare people. I'm not saying we're going to a camp, but at a certain point, it's like, where's this all going? It's not going in the right direction. It's not like they're not spying on us and they're not trying to accuse everyone of being terrorists. It's like, it's not going in the right direction. It's fine. I'm not crying about it, but it's like, at a certain point, why would you think they're going to do the right thing? It's like, next year, this is why the QAnon thing is the perfect distraction, because it's like, it's almost here, folks. It's like, 50 years later, and it's like, hey, trust the plan, grandson. And you're like, Grandpa, you've been trusting the plan for 50 years now. Donald Trump almost did it. He almost got Hillary Clinton. Like, Grandpa, Donald Trump's been gone for 50 years. His kids don't even run in office. Yeah, but you don't understand, son, is Nikola Tesla had a time machine, and any day now, Donald Trump will be back to fight the pedophiles. And like, Grandpa, you've been saying that since 2007. And he's like, but this time the Republicans mean business. They just made a mistake last time. And it's like, yeah, any second now. It's like if somebody owes you money and you're like, bro, you gonna give me money? And they just keep saying tomorrow. They're like, oh yeah, tomorrow, dude. I'm at Wells Fargo right now. And it's like, cool, then, just wire me the money then. Oh man, my wire transfer oh man, the wire transfer just fell through, bro. Trust the plan though. It's gonna be there in 3 days. And I'm like, you sound like you're at a casino. You don't even sound like you're at a Wells Fargo. Oh, did I say Wells Fargo? I meant Bank of America, bro. No, dude, you sound like you're at a casino. Oh, no, dude, I'm totally not gambling your money. It's like, I'll give it to you tomorrow. And then it's like a week later, oh, tomorrow, bro, next week, You ever meet somebody like that it's always next week or tomorrow? Or, you have any fair weather friends that are like, yo, let's hang out next week. And it's like been 10 years. Like, bro, I haven't seen you since high school. It's like, dude, been a crazy week, bro. I'll see you next Friday. And the next Friday's like, oh, dude, this thing came up. It's like, all right, I get it. We're not gonna hang out. It's not a big deal. Just stop rolling out Someone said my jeweler told me it doesn't cost a dime to be nice. It's true, but I'm guessing your jeweler also wants your money. you know? It's like, it doesn't cost a dime to be nice, but it does cost $10,000 to buy this watch. And if you don't buy anything, we don't allow loiterers here, so get the hell out of my store. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not saying they're doing that. I just thought that was funny. Someone said, I also want your money. Okay. Someone said, did Trump... Hold on, I'm going to try to read this. Did Trump said that the drug companies run the agencies? Do you think they will put in who they want? Well, Donald Trump hired Alex Azar to run the Human Health Services. Alex Azar is a pharmacy lobbyist slash executive of Eli Lilly, which is a well-known, I believe, like lobbying some sort of pharmacy, massive conglomerate. So Donald Trump chose to put that guy into office. Do you want my real analysis or not? Donald Trump is better than Joe Biden. Donald Trump is better than the average bear, but Donald Trump is like a great actor. He's great at pretending he's just like you. Guys, he's been rich his whole life, and he's just like, oh yeah, Kansas, I'm just like you. You think he's just like you? He's been wealthy forever. I'm not saying it to hate him because of it. I don't hate people because of their wealth. I liked Donald Trump for a while too, but at a certain point I realized, and I started like tracing his interviews, I'm like, oh, he's just a good actor. Like, Georgia, 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 I love you, Georgia. Stay locked down, Georgia, for Daddy Trump. Like, there's a video of him telling Brian Kemp to stay locked down. He's mad at Brian Kemp for opening Georgia, and he's like, Georgia, Georgia, I'm just like you. Tell Brian Kemp to stay locked down. And it's like, that's the same shtick he does all the time. So I'm like, oh, it's just a shtick. It's just like, I'm just like you, lock your state down. I'm just like you, take the vaccine. Like, so at the end of the day, I think he's a great marketer. He's a great businessman, and he's a great salesman, and he decided to do business with Big Pharma instead of his base. So he's a great businessman, but unfortunately he's selling COVID vaccines instead of, freedom, liberty, and something worthwhile. But, if people want to believe that he's like, right around the corner to save you, I mean, all the evidence and, facts are not pointing that direction, but you never know. Only God knows who he is and who's in his heart. So feel free to disagree, but I think it's pretty obvious at this point. But if people want to pretend like he's just constantly, without being too repetitive, the funniest part about this, like if you listen to people, like on one hand, people are like, yo, he's this great leader. And you're like, right, okay. What does a leader do great? A leader leads, right? That's what a leader does. They're the head of the spear. They're the ones making the decisions. A leader is somebody that inspires everyone else. Okay, so he's a great leader, right? I agree. He's a great leader. Okay. And then I'm like, but what about like this 30 things that he did? Like he's running around the country selling these shots and nobody in his party wants him to do it, but he keeps doing it. Why? Oh, well, he got tricked. But you have to understand, a leader doesn't get tricked. And if a leader gets tricked, they correct themselves. It's not like Tom Brady throws 5 interceptions every game. After a game of doing that, he learns his lesson and figures it out, or else he's not a good leader anymore. You get what I'm saying? So it's like on one hand, he's this great leader. On another hand, he's this big fool. On one hand, he's this independent guy who can't be controlled. On another hand, he's always being controlled by his advisors. On one hand, he's so smart and has a 5D plan. On another hand, he's the biggest fool in the world because he's always getting fooled. It's like his base has turned into just a joke. It's just like a bunch of people who make excuses that don't even make sense because they want to just keep going to events and wave flags. Like, it's like people aren't actually trying to win. They don't want their reality shattered, so they just make no sense when they talk about them now. Someone said, isn't it interesting we leave Afghanistan and their poppy fields right after the opiate scandal breaks, and we also trade back to the heroin czar? Suspicious timing, saying the least. To compliment Trump now, though, I do think he did a better job on foreign policy, and I do think he says he would have prevented war with Russia. I do think he did a good job at that, at least for a while, and, I think that is more honorable than Joe Biden. I do think the media is always trying to start war. Our media wants war. The people who run our media want war. They're desperate for war, and any president like Trump who ever stops a war or slows down a war, usually they just eviscerate, even if they're not perfect or not. So I think, I do believe that Trump did really do a good job with foreign policy, with Kim Jong-un, with Syria, with Russia. You want to get along. Trump isn't somebody who just hands the keys to Putin. He never was that person. He brings his balls, his stuff to the table, and then he negotiates. That's what you want. You don't want Boris Johnson telling Zelensky not to strike a deal. You don't want Zelensky saying he won't even talk to, I don't want to strike a deal. Well, then war's going to happen for decades. There's got to be some point where it stops. You got to be able to negotiate at some point. Either you fight or you talk and figure it out. That's how it works. So this idea that we're not supposed to strike a deal with Putin and Russia, so then what? When does this end? It's going to last forever, and somebody's going to go away. So I think, I think Trump is right. I think, when it comes to Biden and Trump, I get why I voted for Trump, and I stand by it. I think it was the lesser two evils, but this is my double tasking. On one hand, call out the nonsense. On the other hand, be fair about it. To say that Trump did a terrible job with foreign policy is not true. I think he did, and possibly could have stopped bigger escalations. But his role in the big pharma rollout was just outlandishly pathetic. And it's like, at that point, it's like, I don't know. Can you stop foreign wars without shutting the country down? Can you stop foreign wars without empowering big pharma? And this is where ideologically I disagree with a lot of people. It's like, I'm not reading a script, and I'm not somebody who needs my talking points fed to me by the Republican Party. I know what I believe. It lines up with that party the most, so I vote for them. But when it comes to the swamp, there's many elements to it, right? You have intelligence communities, people that never leave, donors. Like you can call the swamp whatever you want, but to me, one of the top players of the swamp is Big Pharma. I think Big Pharma is perhaps even bigger than some things that people don't even realize. Like when you control most of television advertisements, social media, like Big Pharma is one of the swampiest swamp creatures in the world. And I just can't have a leader that's working with them, defending them, selling their products. I don't care if he's not mandating it. That's better. But, I don't think we're going to drain the swamp with that type of leadership. I think it's going to end bad and end in he got fooled again. These people are no good. And I've been dealing with the medical world in the last couple months. I'm not going to say what's going on. It doesn't seem to be severe or anything, but dealing with doctors in this country is crazy, guys. Like, I got sent here. They send me here. They send me here. They send me here. Call this number. They don't answer. Here's the email. I don't have an email. Our health industry is a disaster, and I'm not even in an area with bad health industry. It's considered one of the better health stuff around here. It's like our country is a joke, man. And I'm not trying to be rude, but it's like, surgeons do a good job stitching stuff up and cutting stuff out, and I'm very grateful for the precision of doctors. But when it comes to medicine, our country's a joke. When it comes to the COVID stuff, it was a joke. When it comes to actually getting help in this country, it's insane. And I don't think, socialist healthcare would make it any better. It's like, but to say that it's good because we don't have socialist healthcare is also not true. It's like, it's ridiculous. I'm just getting scam. Go here, go here, go here, go here, go here. And it's like, can I get some help? Can I get anybody that actually cares? These people don't care about anything. And I'm not saying I did see one good doctor, but it's like, take a pill, do this, go here, give me your money. Like, nobody really cares about your health in this country. It's shockingly difficult. So, Big Pharma has its tentacles in the medical community, and it's one of the reasons, in my opinion, they're so corrupt and so backwards. Big Pharma has their tentacles in the media, and the media is disgusting because of them. They have their tentacles in politics. They're the number one lobbyists, and they have their tentacles in big tech. So I can't have a leader draining the swamp who's filling up the swamp of pharma. It's not possible, and it's like, it's really starting to bother me, even just like I think it bothers everybody, but it's like, trying to get help in this country medical wise is insane. It's like the amount of sloppiness is like shocking. I'm like, this is unfortunate. All right. Someone said Big Pharma controls the FDA. I don't know it off the top, but like, the whole FDA, how they're funded, Big Pharma, the whole operation is just like shocking. Like that's, and that's a bipartisan issue. I think people would really get on the right page if somebody presented this. But here's the thing with politics. It's always like doink, 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 and they're never doing anything. So it's like, this is why with my fact check and the fact checkers little documentary, it's like I'm trying to do a good job of that. I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to piss people off. But I'm not just trying to get doinked back all the time. I'm trying to provide an out, some light at the end of the tunnel where it's like I'm going to try to make more little mini like semi documentaries. I wouldn't call it a real documentary, but it's the best I can do with my own producing skills. And I'm going to work with actual documentarians to do actual documentaries. But in general, it's like I'm going to try to do things that, like, what if I made a whole documentary on Big Pharma and the FDA? Are liberals going to not like that? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not telling people, let me just be really clear. If you like Donald Trump and that's who you love and you want to defend him, I'm not telling you to not defend him. I don't like cowardice. If you love Donald Trump and you want to defend him and you think it's righteous, do it regardless of what people believe. I did it for years. I just don't really like him anymore. No offense. But I'm not telling people to do it because it's the safe thing to do. No, then you're like every athlete. That's pathetic. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is right now, just psychologically, the left is attached to Donald Trump. I read left-wing Twitter feeds sometimes because I want to see where they're at. Most time I disagree with them, but sometimes it's funny. Like they're hating on Lara Trump because she's posting these goofy Instagram videos. And the truth is she is kind of goofy. I mean, I like her. She's a nice lady. But it's like, it's just funny. Like they're so addicted to Donald Trump and his family that they just can't think straight. So the point I'm trying to get to, though, is like when all you do is defend Trump and talk about Trump and go to Trump rally, like you're not, there is, and I'm not saying to pander to them, but it's like you're caught in this false world where it's like they hate you, this, that, and it's like children, you're fighting them, they're fighting you, nothing's happening. I'm not saying to stop doing that if you believe in it and that's your true calling, because I'm not telling people to do this out of cowardice. But what I am saying is, say I made a documentary and I call out Big Pharma and I call out Trump and I call out Biden and I call out Republicans and I call out Democrats and I focus on the food quality and I tell you, you know what? Republicans aren't any better than this on Democrats. They might even be worse when it comes to certain food quality. You look at the states where it's legal and it's almost a split of who's worse. They're both in on it. So I'm just curious. Like, I don't know, and I haven't done it yet, but I think that documentary might crack through to a lot of liberals because it's like it's not Trump. My whole life's Trump. I live through Trump. That's my identity, Trump now. It's like I have my own identity. I have my own narrative. I have my own interests, just like you do. You know, everybody's not exactly the same. So I think at a certain point, people need to break away from Trump. I'm not saying to do it from a cowardice angle, like, oh my God, they're going after him, leave him alone. No, I'm not saying that. I'll still defend the Big Pharma clown when he deserves to be defended. I don't care if I don't like him. I'm going to defend him when it's right, just like I did for years. But I think people need to break away from Trump eventually because it's like he's not really doing that much for you. He's just kind of a liability. And it's just like he just keeps running in circles. And we're running in circles and it's just getting boring and stale. And it's like that narrative has already been so clamped down on. It's time to like recreate our own narrative. I think Ron DeSantis did a good job of that. He's not perfect. They're still going to call him a Trump guy. But it's like he doesn't just run around. It's like, no, this is what I think. This is the mandates. This is who I am. This is my narrative. I'm creating my own narrative. I'm not chasing the pin, the tail, and the donkey. So, I think at a certain point, that will be beneficial to people because we're caught in two different realities. We're caught in COVID reality, vaccine reality, and Trump reality. I love Trump. I hate Trump. I hate Trump. I love Trump. It's Trump world. Pick a side. COVID world. Are you vaccinated or are you unvaccinated? Are you lockdowns? You are wearing a mask? It's like these realities, I want to shatter these. I don't live in these realities. I don't live in Trump world. My whole identity's not sucking the dirt off of Trump's shoes. And my whole reality's not crying about Don Jr. on Twitter every day. My whole reality isn't about being vaccinated. My whole reality isn't about being unvaccinated when it comes to the COVID shot. It's like it's like everybody wants to identify themselves as like, I'm a COVID person. I'm a Trump hater. I'm a Trump lover. I'm a Trump fan. I'm a Trump enemy. It's like, get your own identity, not just because it's just like we're stuck on loop. I feel like we're stuck here and it's like, what's 2024? It's like Biden versus Trump. Guys, this would be like if Mike Tyson fought Evander Holyfield in 20 years. It's like, bro, move on. At a certain point, Mike Tyson was the man. Evander Holyfield was the man. If you guys want to get your money in a fake fight like Floyd Mayweather, get your money. I'm all about you making money. But at the same time, Floyd Mayweather versus Holyfield is over. Though it's not the same moment it used to be. You know what I'm saying? It's not Ali versus Frazier, whoever. Like it's over. We're gonna do Biden versus Trump again. No disrespect to Trump, but it's like, guys, they're almost 80 years old. They are 80 years old. Like, you know, or whatever. Like, move on. And people are like, oh, you hate Trump. You're a Democrat. You're Mitt Romney. Do I hate Mike Tyson because I'm saying he's not who he was at 25? No, it's just the reality. It's like, let's watch. I'm trying to even think of like a UFC fighter. So it's like, it's not to say they're bad and they don't deserve money and praise, and I'll still watch the fight, but you know, there's newer fights that are bigger and more interesting. You know, it's like like these days need to be numbered, you know? Biden's days were numbered before he even started. Biden's been done before he even got in office, and Trump, his days are numbered. But it's fine if you want to think at 80 years old Donald Trump is the best candidate, because sadly he might be the best candidate. You know what I'm saying? In this crazy country, but in any other place, would an athlete even break 50 and be in anywhere? No. Would any CEO stay past 75? Probably not. But you know, but we're gonna elect somebody to run the entire country and perhaps run the entire world at the age of 80, and that's what everyone wants. The left wants that, and the right wants that. What? I'm crazy because I don't want Trump versus Biden again when they're 80 years old. You know, it's Tyson versus Frazier, except you know, Biden was never either of them. It's like Tyson versus a binky. But it's you know, like people want to stay trapped in this reality forever. I think even in Europe, in a weird way, they're at some sort of advantage. They're at a disadvantage because we're tanking the currency. If you look at the currency, the USA is just swallowing up the world. Hey, I'm American. I mean, I'm on one hand, obviously I don't like it. I'm not a jerk, but it's like, whatever. I mean, if Europe's going to be this dumb, America, look at our dollar. Boom, boom, boom. Look at the pound and the euro. We're swallowing Europe alive. The liberal gay world order is coming to a city near you, and we're eating it, and we're going to eat good, I guess, because our currency is going to be worth more or something. But anyway, it's like on one hand, that's not good for Europe. But on another hand, Europe has different demographics, different culture, different conversations going on where it's like, it's not like Trump versus Biden. So because they have a different racial, social, and political dynamic, a lot of things in Europe they'll figure out way quicker than America because they're not stuck in the loop. Like, for example, in Sweden has a very left-wing government. But the left-wing government of Sweden was more against lockdowns than Donald Trump was. So on one hand, Donald Trump's this right-wing leader, but he buys into lockdowns for a month and a half to 2 months. And he extends the order and tells he literally, I could find a video of him telling you that Sweden is wrong, that they should have locked down too. So the left-wing government of Sweden, the far left-wing government of Sweden, is more pro-freedom during COVID pandemics than Donald Trump is. Why is that? You know, there's a different social dynamic, and Sweden has a constitution that they actually obliged to and decided that they couldn't violate with a lockdown, and they went for herd immunity. And there's a video of Trump going, why wouldn't they lock it down? It's called herd immunity, okay? They should have locked down like us. They're going to die. Like, you know, he was against Sweden not locking down. It's very fascinating. The world is a crazy place, but, you know, it is what it is. Someone said, a beautiful day out here going outside. Appreciate you, Mona. Enjoy yourself. I was outside twice today. I'll do the same very soon. Someone said, I'm at a doctor's office right now, and they're forcing us to wear a mask, all of us. Here's what I want to say. I want to put that on the screen real quick. Where is it? Brandon. For a century at doctor's office, they would wear masks sometimes in the ER room, but they never had administration wearing masks for a century, 100 years. You didn't have administration wearing masks, people at the desk, people in the waiting room. This wasn't a thing, right? We've had infectious diseases. We've had contagious things, according to the science literature that I don't know enough to disagree with, for a century now. But COVID comes along, and it's this thing that now we're going to wear a mask. And they're going to wear this in the medical industry forever. They're going to be forced masks for the rest of their lives at this point. Really? Century was fine, but now because of COVID, it's time to mask up forever. If you're like, it's shocking that more people aren't against this, but whatever. I mean, I'm just like, it's so crazy. I'm annoying. I'm like, excuse me, sir, can you put a mask on? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm not a slave. Excuse me, sir, can you put a mask on? Excuse me, lady. I said, I'm not a slave. I'm not a prisoner. I'm not a captured war hero. No, I'm good. You know, like, I'll at least make them work for it. You know, I'm like, stop treating people like this. Like, you know, or I'll play the environmental angle. They're like, can you put on this mask? I'm sitting here for 30 seconds, lady, and it doesn't even block my airflow. You know, what do you want? Billions of these things in the ocean? You know, I'll turn it on them. What are you trying to pollute the ocean? You want billions of these masks just floating around in the middle of the Atlantic? Like, get off my back. Someone said Senator Feinstein is 89. It's absolutely insane. She's like, you know, I mean, if she hasn't crapped her pants in Congress, she deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. You know, and I'm not even joking. Like, if Dianne Feinstein has not crapped her pants at 89 in Congress in the middle of someone speaking, give her a Nobel Peace Prize and give her a Presidential Medal of Freedom. I mean it. Because that's astonishing. To be 89, to work as much as she does and not poop your pants, freedom, medal. Nobel Peace Prize, medal. Give her 2 medals and then tell her it's time to wrap it up. You know, it's time to move on to greener pastures. It's like, how has that even happened? Like, this country is such a joke. This is why I don't care about Iran. Listen, I don't feel like we have the moral high ground to tell Iran how to run a government. You know, let's not do that. You know, I'm not saying that they're better than us, but it's like, let's focus on our problems, okay? Because I'm all about that. Nobel Poop Prize? Yeah, give her a Nobel Pooper. Someone said, I can't even volunteer working at the food bank because I'm not vaxxed. And here's something that I found interesting. When I mentioned this, I don't know where you're at, Amber. Thanks for the comment. I'll mention this, and you'll have people go, Anomaly, I'm in Texas, it's free. I'm in Florida, it's free. It's not. Yes, it's free where I'm at too. I'm not forced to wear a mask, but it's like we take 2 steps forward, we take 50 steps backwards, we take 20 steps back in the right direction, and everybody acts like we didn't lose freedom. There's still mandates in certain areas in all 50 states, in certain industries, with certain people, with certain workers, with certain corporations, with certain privileges that we used to have. And the reason the Republicans lose ground is because they're in on it or they're lazy with it. So I think this should be a huge priority, is when a Republican gets in office, let them know, you know, I'm tired of being treated this way. And yeah, I have most of my freedom back, but we're going in the wrong direction. So I think conservatives like losing too much, and they like the illusion of winning. You know what I'm saying? Like, someone's like, oh, I'm in Texas, I'm free. I've been to Texas. It's free-ish, you know? There's still liberal cities and liberal corporations. There's still nurses and workers and, you know, people that are forced masked. There's still people that can't access certain things. It's better than being in San Francisco, of course. So, being anywhere is better than being San Francisco. I would rather be like in a jungle in Chile, lost somewhere, than being in San Francisco. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, we have to identify the issue to solve it. But if everybody always says, hoorah, we're free, and it's like, yeah, is that how you see it? I'm not saying to cry about it and like act like they're ruining your life. You know, go on with your life, make moves, make money, you know, have fun. But politically, I would think that we should solve these issues. I always use sports analogies, but like, okay, say we're the Republican Party, right? It's halftime. This is our team. Shouldn't we sit down and be like, hey, we lost a lot of freedom. We still lost a lot of liberty. We still did this. We need to correct this. We need to play better defense. Our offense needs to be better. We need to do this. But when you go to a lot of conservative events, they'll talk about rhinos and they'll say basic stuff, but most people are not challenging Ted Cruz or Donald Trump or saying, hey, we could do this a little bit better. Like, people don't have these conversations. So it's like, you know, things don't get solved because everybody is always fighting the left and the left is always fighting the right. I get it now. I see over it and I'm just like, this is, it's like kindergartners fighting. It's like neither side really cares about either of you. You know, like, it's like the Republicans don't care about you, the Democrats don't care about you. It's like, yes, that's where you turn into a Chad meme and you just look at both and be like, yeah, exactly. You're right. You're both right. Someone said, talk about how Rand Paul bought Gilead Sciences. We talked about that the other day, actually, in the live stream, so I don't want to repeat it. But we actually did talk about that, like literally a day ago or 2 days ago. Someone said, join Bohemian Grove, like the illegals in joined Martha's Vineyard. Oh, I thought you were saying the illegal immigrants joined Bohemian Grove. I misread that. You said join Bohemian Grove like the illegals joined Martha's Vineyard. I thought you were accusing the migrants of joining Bohemian Grove. Those aren't just any normal migrants. Those are some secret society migrants. You got to watch out for them. Oh my gosh, that would have been funnier. Why don't I vote third party? Because I'm not a loser. I don't like to lose, so I'm realistic. It's like, to me, getting enough people to confront the Republican Party is more viable at this point than voting for a third party. It's like, I'll give you an example. In an area near me, they had one Democrat ran and 3 Republicans ran against each other, and they all split votes, and the Democrat won. It's like, in theory, your theories don't matter. Reality matters. So it's like, at the end of the day, if a libertarian runs for president and he gets 5% of the vote, you're taking 5% of the vote mostly away from Republicans. You can pretend like you're not, but you are. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not telling the libertarians not to run and do it. It's just realistic. And I'll tell you what, anybody who runs libertarian, any Republican that knows he's going to lose, they never admit they're going to lose. They tell everybody, we have a real chance. You know you don't have a chance. You're just sucking up donor money and getting attention and pushing your cause. That's fine. But be realistic. Say, I'm going to get blown out. I'm going to get 5% of the vote. Probably 4% of that 5% is going to be taken away from Republican parties. And I'm going to change the election and get the Democrat office. If you think both parties are the same, that's fine. You'll get a different Supreme Court justice. You'll get different local authorities. You'll get more mandates. There is a difference between the Republican and the Democratic Party. Not enough for me to be cool with. But, voting third party, I've done it before. I did it in 2016. I strategically did it in 2016, though. I don't even disagree with what I did in 2016 because my thought process was this. I lived in California, okay? Is Donald Trump going to win California? Barring a miracle, no. So if I vote for Donald Trump, does it matter? No. If I vote for Hillary Clinton in California, which I never would do, that never even crossed my mind. It was either going to be nothing, maybe Trump in 2016, third party, whatever. But it doesn't matter who I vote for in California because it's not going to shift the election. So I voted for the Green Party because if the Green Party gets a certain percentage, whether it's 5 or 15%, they get to be in the next debates. And say what you want about Jill Stein. She actually does make pretty good points about foreign policy. She agrees with Trump a lot in his dealings with like Russia, etc. So I thought strategically it made more sense to vote third party in 2016 because my vote would have been wasted for either party. I never would have voted for Hillary, but even my vote for Trump would have been throwing it in the toilet. I thought maybe the Green Party could get to 5 or 15% of the vote, and then they could get on the debate stage and change the dynamic of the Democrat versus Republican debate. So that was my thought process in 2016. In 2020, I just voted for Trump because although I know it pretty much doesn't matter, I mean, I don't. At this point, I'm never voting for the Green Party again. So, we'll see what happens in 2024. But as far as a libertarian running, the libertarians seem to love me on Twitter because I know the Republican Party is not really a libertarian party, but I'll work with libertarians to some extent, if it's a viable election, but I'm not out here trying to lose, so if you're just getting blown out of the water and taking votes away from the Republican, I'm not interested. Show me a campaign, a local campaign or something where they're primed to win, but don't just suck 5% of the vote away from Republicans. And this has happened in Congress. This has happened in Senate. This happens all the time. And unfortunately, it's just the reality. I don't know. I know a lot of libertarians won't want to hear that, but that's just realistically true. Someone said I'm a Ron Paul Republican. To me, trying to do what Ron Paul did makes more sense, or Thomas Massie makes more sense, or run for a local seat and win your local seat. But I don't know. Someone said, I'm a libertarian, but the libertarians are just high. I don't think they're high. I think the Mises Caucus is starting to build something, but you have to be real strategic with it. Like, people always say run for office. I don't want to. I'm not interested. I wouldn't even remotely consider it until I'm like 55. But and I don't even want to do it then. But the point I'm getting to, someone said Pat Buchanan. Yeah, he did work in the Republican Party without going off it. But if I ran for office, I'm not half-assing it. I'm not going to just do it for money or fame. Like, I'm trying to win. If I ever run, I would sit down. First of all, you really should have a law degree, or you need lawyers around you. Like, you need to study poli-sci and understand how it actually works. But then it's like, okay, how do I win? I want to sit down with experts and be like, listen, you need this much money to win. Unfortunately, that's just the reality. If they have a $2 billion campaign and you have $100, like, it's not even statistically possible unless you're the most amazing, speaker ever and you get free ads. So I would want to win. I wouldn't want to just be like, hey, I'm going to get blown out, but I'm going to pretend like I'm going to win. I'm not that type of person. I know people like to do that because it's fun and it's like profitable, or to some extent, but it's like, I would definitely try to analyze, do I have a path to victory? And if I don't, then I'm not running. I don't think it's beneficial to anybody to play make believe and get 2% of the vote, 4% of the vote, and go off into the shadows. What do I think about the people fleeing Russia? I've seen reports of it. I mean, they probably don't want to fight the war. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people nowadays, they don't have national pride. So if you're not like obsessed with Russia, if you're like a liberal or a moderate conservative and you don't believe in Putin or the war, I mean, you're like, all right, I'm out. I don't know if that's why they're leaving or they're afraid or something, but I would assume there's a lot of liberals in Russia, not as many as America, but a decent amount. As much as they call Putin an authoritarian and a fascist, he does win elections. More people like him, but there's 10 to 30%. I don't know what the 40, like a decent chunk of Russia is kind of liberal. They had Western media, Western music. Like the countries were not that separated before the war. So I would assume that there's just a bunch of men who are like, yeah, I have no interest in fighting Ukraine. I have no interest in dying for this like proxy war. But Russia definitely has more pride than America, but there's a lot of like global people that are like, I'd rather move to America and listen to reggaeton, or something. It's like, okay, I'm not knocking it. I don't know. Russia's cold. If you told me, hey, Namli, where do you want to live? Russia or like by a beach? It's like, by a beach. I don't know. I'm not trying to live in Russia. No offense. Let's see. All right, we're going to take off in a second. A Danish guy in Russia gave good input on people fleeing. It's really overblown in our media, but a lot of people don't want war. That's exactly what I was guessing / saying. Yeah, I'm sure it's less crazy than they're saying, but of course there's going to be people who don't want war. Someone say, I would fight for Texas. Would I fight for my state? I mean, yeah, but I wouldn't fight for the culture of my state, but for like from a foreign nation or something, sure. For my community, absolutely. Like if, I don't know, like Chinese soldiers came on the beach, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, fight for drag queen story hour and vaccine mandates? No. So depends what you mean. Someone said Russia is anti-child mutilation. Anywhere in the world, I mean, you'll find two things pretty much everywhere in the world. If you go to any country in the world that the media hates, any country in the world that right-wing Zionists hate, or whoever, these Giorgia Meloni types that are pro-NATO, pro-Zelensky, there's going to be two things you're going to find in every country that they hate, or every country that they're trying to infiltrate. Multiple things. One, they don't have a puppet president that's being controlled by the West. That's a no-no. Two, they don't do drag queen story hour, and the rainbow mafia hasn't completely subverted their country like in a lot of Islamic countries or in a lot of right-wing Christian countries for Eastern Europe. So don't have a puppet leader, haven't let the rainbow people take over their country, haven't let third wave feminism completely destroy their country or whatever wave we're on. And also anybody that doesn't slobber over Israel and want them to just keep sucking money out of America. If you can't find me a country in the world that doesn't at least have one of those things, whether it's Pompeo or, Soros or whoever, left wing, right wing, America, LGBT people, whatever, gay liberal world order. And I'm not hating on people who agree with some of those principles or something. I'm just saying that's, if a country doesn't have a puppet leader, you're going to be in trouble. If a country doesn't let the rainbow people take over, we're mad at you. It's like Iran. If Mike Pompeo got his way with Iran, do you think Iran would be better? Do you think it would look like Texas? No, Iran would look like San Francisco. It's like that's what the left wing, right wing paradigm want. Someone said no central bank. Yeah, that probably definitely doesn't help either. But I think at a certain point, they need to rainbowify everything. I'm pretty sure if America got its way in Iran, it would be like feminism would be running rampant, rainbow people would be all over. I'm probably going to cover this in full later, but there's a NBA player. He's young and really good. His name is Anthony Edwards. He's one of the best players in the NBA. He said something about the LGBT people, the rainbow crowd, and he just made a tweet or a video, and he uses the word that starts with Q and ends with ears, and he called a group of men Q. I mean, it's an actual word. I'm just trying to defeat the algorithm. But in general, he made that statement, and the NBA fined him $40,000, and he had to apologize. Guys, what? It's just so crazy. It's like you can do George Floyd stuff. They force vaccinate people, or they won't let you play in stadiums if you don't get a COVID vaccine. They kicked Kyrie Irving basically out of New York, arenas, or wouldn't let him play there for almost the whole year. But when a basketball player says something about gay people, it's hate speech, and he needs to pay a $40,000 fine. They just steal your money. You use the Q word, not QAnon, not Q, ears, I mean, it's not even a bad word. I just know Facebook is run by fact-check operatives and artificial intelligence, so I like to play chess and just defeat them with, little games. But in general, really, that you could steal Anthony Edwards' money because he made a comment? But you could say anything else. This country's a joke. I hope a lot of basketball players and athletes really wake up and, because all the activism they're allowed to do is fake. That's why they're allowed to do it. So I pray that they actually start kind of standing up for themselves, because they think they're standing up for themselves, but they're really standing up for the establishment that hates them. And I hope they start to notice, I pray that they start to notice. God bless you guys. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Thanks for listening. This is always put on audio, Dream Rare Podcast. It's on Spotify, Apple, wherever podcasts are found, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble. I would love to do some sort of exclusive deal with Rumble. Hit me up. I know they're starting to build and really dole out, some partnerships. I would completely stop using YouTube if me and Rumble struck a deal. So I'd much rather build on that than these platforms that hate me and fake fact check me. So hopefully I can get that figured out soon, but all good. Thanks for your help, guys. And thanks for watching my Fact Checking the Fact Checkers documentary. Somebody covered it today in a news article, Newsbusters. Thank you to Newsbusters, and thank you, I think his name is Joe. I got to check on that, but thanks for covering that in a news article. I want the fact checkers to respond. Appreciate it. Have a beautiful day, and I'll be back soon. Hopefully that stream wasn't too rough. And Ted Cruz, I will forgive you and we can be friends, but you gotta apologize for trying to push vaccination segregation and dehumanize and take liberty away from people who didn't get the mRNA vaccine. It's very, very evil. And if you apologize, I'll forgive you. Appreciate it.